What's up, guys? Brian back to do a Walking Dead discussion and spoilers. Basically, an article about the Inquisitor says Scott Gimple, the showrunner of The Walking Dead for Season 7 and previously, says don't expect The Walking Dead show to be the comic. So they're going to change things up, and we'll talk about that in this video. So like I said before, in the images used in this video are property of AMC. We do not claim property of ownership of the images used here. We use them in the fair use copyright. Spoilers ahead. If you don't want to know about anything, spoilers ahead about comic book related to the show or what Gimple says, stop watching. There's the link to the Inquisitor article. We'll put it in the description as well. But basically, it says the producers of the show are very aware that The Walking Dead AMC show could be spoiled by the comic books, and fans everywhere could just drop off from their viewing audience if they do things just the way they did in the comics. So that means The Walking Dead showrunner Scott Gimple has his work cut out for him to develop content for the show that shares the spirit and creative direction of The Walking Dead comic book by creator Robert Kirkman, yet still make it surprising enough that fans would never see the events coming. So that is kind of tough. You know, you can't do it just like the comics, but you have to do some things like the comics. That's why I think Glenn is going to die in there. But also Abraham makes sense because it's a little shocking and they stick to it, but there. That is where the big cliffhanger comes in. Riding the coattails of Season 6 of The Walking Dead, now Gimple, Kirkman, and the entire Walking Dead crew have to find some way to make it work for the audience and still deliver an enormous blow without fans getting spoiled. That's why I think they're going to have the two different people die, or two people die, like Abraham and Glenn. I think Abraham's going to die first, and then something happens. What it says earlier in the spoilers is that Glenn dies second. So you're going to think, oh, Abraham is picked. Oh, Glenn's going to be saved. But I think they should have just done that in the finale of Season 6, and then it's not over yet. But that's a whole other thing. In the Walking Dead comic book, Glenn is the one who died at the hands of Negan. But according to Scott Gimple, via an interview with Entertainment Weekly, the show is not going to duplicate the comic book, but it will still remain in the same universe as. It was all about expectations. The Walking Dead showrunner Scott Gimple told Entertainment Weekly, people were like, oh, well, here's what happens when Negan arrives on the scene, and the expectation was, oh, it'll be this way, and that's the way it should be, and that's the way it's in my head. And I understand that, but it's also a question of trying to do things that fulfill the spirit of the story and the spirit of the comic without it being exactly the same as the comic. And I understand that. It shouldn't be exactly the same, and that's why it's going to be Abraham first, then Glenn. But I think it goes Abraham first, and then Daryl tries to attack Negan, but then he's taken out, and then Glenn dies a second one. That's what the reports are saying. But I think Glenn should be picked, and then Abraham goes to attack Negan, gets the arrow in the head, just like his comic book death would be. But we'll see how it actually plays out. There's no exact proof of that, too. So the early spoilers say these two guys are the victims in there, too. So Gimple's saying it's not exactly like the comics, and it won't be because Abraham and Glenn both die, not like the comics. One thing that is especially true about The Walking Dead is that by far the biggest show on television. It also seems weird because The Walking Dead had three things working against it up front. First of all, it was a cable television show. Historically, cable TV shows are much lower rated than broadcast shows, like NBC, CBS, ABC, and Fox. Next, there is a whole horror TV thing, used many shows back from big ratings, but the biggest thing that The Walking Dead has going for it is that it originated from a serialized comic book that had spoilers all over the place and could have turned viewers off from the surprise factor. So, it started with the comic book, clearly, and then the show got picked up by AMC, but at first was turned down by NBC and HBO. If you've seen the other videos, HBO passed, NBC wanted to get rid of the Walkers. They wanted a zombie crime show kind of thing, I guess like CSI or SVU or something, I don't know. But basically, AMC picked it up, and the show is the biggest on television, and I love it. I can't get enough of it. How about you? I just can't wait for it to come back. But they do change things on the show. They can't have the comic book be exactly like the show and vice versa for a number of reasons, but they do mix things up, just like the Abraham death went to Denise. But Scott Gimple rose to the challenge of The Walking Dead, following the game plan laid out in the beginning by famed Hollywood producer-director Frank Darabont, who's no longer on the show. I feel some of the Walking Dead comic book readers were like, oh, this is going to happen. This is exactly what it is, and we wanted to give them a new experience and to give them an experience of suspense and fear because they don't know what's going to happen. Scott Gimple said, what's exactly happening on this show to characters? We want them to feel it. We want them to be surprised. And they do a pretty good job with that, I would say. It's not exactly, the comics are the comics, the show is the show, but the show does replicate some of the things in the comic, but it does have drastic changes, like Andrea's not on the show, Abraham made the lineup, but it's not going to survive the lineup. Sasha's not even a part of the comic. Daryl's not a part of the comic. Carol's still alive. Morgan's still alive. There are drastic changes on there too. So what do you think, guys? Post your comments below. Hi, I'm Negan, and I'm out of here. Just love that picture there too. Eugene is turned it around a little bit. That's Josh McDermott filming on there. I think he's on like a little scooter thing or whatever. But thanks for watching, guys. You are awesome. Like, share, subscribe, and comment. Subscribe for more videos. Let's keep this channel growing. And what do you think about it? The comics, the shows, the show. Let us know, guys. As always, thank you for watching.